Hello and welcome. This is Business Incorporated. I'm Chimezie Obi-Wagu. Thank you for joining us. On the show today, African economy grows fast in January. That's according to World Economics SMIs. Ethiopian Airlines signs deal to revive Zambia's national carrier. Plus, an outlook on African economies' currencies in 2018. Let's get the show started now. We're starting off with the markets, and here on the African continent, all the markets were in the green at intraday. The Nigerian stock market was up 0.85%. The JSE index up 0.75%, and Egypt was up 0.57%. Kenya closed in the green on Tuesday. In the Middle East, Gulf stock markets were mixed at intraday, with Qatari stock market dropping the balls after Qatari banks reported lower than expected fourth quarter earnings. The Qatari stock index was down 0.21%, and Saudi Arabia's index was up 0.13%. Saudi automotive services rose 1.6% after estimating its annual net profit rose 15% on an 11% gain in sales. Indices in Dubai and Abu Dhabi were also up 0.48% and 0.42% each. Well, let's look at the markets. In the U.S., the futures posted sharp gains before Wednesday's open ahead of major corporate earnings from the likes of Bank of America and Goldman Sachs. On Tuesday, U.S. equities finished the trading day lower, pulling back from the highs seen during the session. During Tuesday trade, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose as much as 283 points, breaking the 26,000 mark for the first time. Concerns over a possible government shutdown, however, weighed on market sentiment, causing major markets to end in the red. Despite the concerns, Dow Jones Industrial Average futures rose more than 100 points in early pre-market trade. Looking to today's trade, earnings and economic data is expected to sway sentiment somewhat. Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, U.S. Bancorp, Charles Schwab, Alcor, and Kinder Morgan are some of the names set to report earnings. On the data front, mortgage applications are due out at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, followed by the Business Leaders Survey at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and industrial production data at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time. And in Asia, markets closed in negative territory today after Wall Street reversed a triple-digit point gain to close lower in the previous session. Japan's Nikkei 225 declined 0.35% to close at 23,868.34 after touching 26-year highs in the previous session. Over in South Korea, the Kospi slipped 0.25% to end at 2,515.43. In Australia, the S&P ASX 200 lost 0.54% to close at 6,015.8 following the fall in base metals seen overnight. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index pulled back 0.13% after notching a record close on Tuesday. On the mainland, the Shanghai Composite bucked the overall downward trend to eke out slight gains, closing 0.26% higher at 3,445.36. The Shenzhen Composite, however, slid 0.3% to end at 1,921.74. Now, for most economic analysts, higher commodity prices, lower inflation, and improved access to international financial markets should lead the recovery of sub-Saharan Africa to pick up steam this year, following a projected 2.4% expansion in 2017. Now, the consensus forecast for the region's economy was left unchanged, and GDP is seen growing 3.3% in 2018. However, there are numerous risks surrounding the outlook, including upcoming elections, rising public debt, and, of course, course, exchange rate distortions in many economies. Let's look at the outlook for African economies, currencies in 2018. I'm being joined now by the head of economic research at Ecobank Group London, Gaimin Noyani. Good afternoon, Gaimin. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
So what is the outlook from Ecobank on major African currencies?
Well, we are actually anticipating a mixed bag for 2018. Let's look at the currency development over the past 2 years. We noticed that following the 2014-15 commodity price shock, most currencies in Africa actually depreciated sharply. And in most of these currencies stabilize with the recovery in the commodity price market. But in 2018, with commodity prices expected to strengthen even further, we're likely to see some gains, which will provide support for African currencies. But at the same time, the region remains a net importer. So majority of the countries in Africa are importing oil, which has actually risen sharply since 2 years ago. And this will continue to offset some of the gains that we're likely to see in the exports sector. So as a result of that, it's going to produce a mixed bag. This going to see more pressure in certain countries and broad stability in others that are actually helping to accelerate reforms.
Now, looking at countries specific like Nigeria, Angola, Kenya, Ghana, and even Cote d'Ivoire, what are the fundamentals that will probably drive the currencies in 2018?
Well, I mean, there are two things. First, you've got the external sector developments, and then you've got the domestic issues. So for a country like Nigeria, on the external front, its main export commodity, main export earner, which is oil, has actually rallied since last year, and now it's approaching almost $70 a barrel, which is very good for such an economy. At the same time, oil production is up. It's remaining really to stability in the Niger Delta, and so this will help to provide some respite for the Nigerian naira. And then on top of that, the fundamentals are improving. We've seen since the introduction of the INE window last April, we've seen lots of inflows, surge of inflows into the INE windows, mainly the portfolio inflows, equities and bond inflows. So this has helped support the NGN and led to broad stability, with the currency now trading at around 360. We expect this to continue over 2018, a broad stability in the first half of the year. But at the end of the year, we expect the NGN to weaken slightly, largely because of concerns over the election next year. So we're likely to see some capital exiting the Nigerian economy towards the end of the year, which will lead to some weakening in the currency.